Hello there. Is Junior here? Your friend and humble narrator. And we're going to be continuing the boot camp stream of watching Matt Powell give his other presentation live. So let's not waste any time.
It's just so let's talk about where evolution actually comes from. So the theory of evolution was it was started by Darwin, published by Darwin. People have argued that it was before Darwin. But evolution really was founded upon the geologic column in the Grand Canyon. And it was founded by a man by
Okay, had to make the stream public. So, yeah, we're continuing the Matt Powell
whole
stream.
reason that the geologic...
Oh, we're continuing the boot camp stream of Matt Powell. So let's get this started.
Does that sound biased to you? Sure does to me. But, you know, Brother Taylor and Brother Hovind have always brought this up, that there's no erosion between the layers. If we were to blow up the layers of the Grand Canyon, there's no erosion. We would expect, and a lot of them are flat. So what we'd expect to find is erosion marks. Now, my talking point that I always like to bring up is there's no bioturbation. There's no animal holes between the layers. So let's say you have a layer come, solidify, another layer come, solidify, Paleozoic, Mesozoic, Archaeozoic propaganda, and everything slowly over time. Well, here's the thing. Why don't we find any animal holes that burrow down in between the layers? I mean, if you have a layer come, you got animals and vegetation growing.
Wait, what? Okay, first off, these layers are solid rock. Second of all, the animals in the layers are dead and fossilized. What are you talking about? This is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard Matt Powell say.
Digging down in, we don't find that in any of the layers. So do you know what that means? Is that the layers were all deposited at the same time in one event. We don't find any tree remains. We would expect to find roots from trees still in the ground preserved, of trees that grew while the layer was waiting for the next layer. We don't find it. So their ideas are based on primitive superstition. But they're the first people. Isn't it amazing that the people that think that monkeys surfed from Africa to South America are the same people that are going to tell you that the Bible is wrong? You know, and if you haven't, here's the thing. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But as you can see here, there's a lot of animals that dig.
Oops.
Ask an evolutionist, what's the Grand Canyon made of? What kind of rock? First thing they'll say is, it's sedimentary rock. Look up the definition of sedimentary rock. Rock that was laid down by water. So the Grand Canyon is made by rock that was laid down by water. Sedimentary rock, that's how it's defined.
Well, the Grand Canyon is made up of lots of different types of rock. There's aeolian deposit, which is wind-blown. There's, I believe there's volcanic rock, the igneous rock. I could be wrong about that, but there's sedimentary rock, but it's not the only type of rock that's there.
So just the definition, Grand Canyon, literally means canyon that was laid down by a flood. By definition. So when they say the Grand Canyon, yeah, that's a canyon that was caused by a flood. Sedimentary rock, yeah, caused by water. Transported by water. I have scientific sources for everything. I want to make sure that we are citing papers and that the evolutionists can't accuse us of taking them out of context. Now we find these little amphibians, these salamanders,
Okay, so the three main types of rock in the Grand Canyon are igneous, which is cooled magma, melted rock that's found underground, or lava, which is molten rock found above ground. And that lava cools and eventually forms rock, igneous rock. Granite, which is cooled from magma, known as intrusive igneous rock. And basalt, cooled from lava, known as an extrusive igneous rock. Okay, so that's all the types of igneous rock. Then you have sedimentary rocks, which are formed by smaller pieces of sand and mud, which stick together in layers, like sandstone, mudstone, shale, siltstone, chert, limestone, and more. And sedimentary rock often contains fossils, usually index fossils. And then you have metamorphic rock, which is formed when sedimentary or igneous rocks change due to exposure to heat and or pressure.
They have their footprints in 15 million years before they were found in the geologic column. So as the floodwaters were coming in and as things were happening, these salamanders were leaving footprints heading upwards, and they died at the supposed age where they existed. Well, what about the footprints that exist down 15 million years earlier, or whatever their ever-changing number is? It doesn't make any sense because it's not true. They're lying to you. They make believe a purpose for life. We also find trilobites. Trilobite trails before finding the trilobite, and they all made their way up as the floodwaters were coming in, going through millions of years of geologic time, and then they were fossilized, not able to outrun the floodwaters. This is all proof. They can't. There are certain things that you can deny, but there are certain things that are undeniable. This, I'm afraid this is pretty undeniable proof, and it doesn't matter how they try and explain it. Just the fact that the tracks were found before the trilobite means that the trilobite existed at the time frame at which all of those layers existed. So is a trilobite going to sit around for millions of years and just survive over millions of years? No, nobody would ever believe that. Now, I want to answer Bill Nye, because Bill Nye said, well, the reason that we know, in his debate with Ken Ham, and I thought Ken Ham did a pretty good job. He brought up some good arguments.
No, Ken Ham did a horrible job. He lost that debate badly.
Talking points. But Bill Nye made this argument. He said, well, the reason that we know that we evolved from a sponge is because, and I'm paraphrasing, that we evolved from a sponge is because you got the lizards, you got all the clams at the bottom, you got all the lizards here, you got all the mammals here, and you've got the birds up at the top. So you see how we evolved over time. Folks, that's how the flood sorted it. Flood would put the heavy things on the bottom, not so heavy lizards closer to the bottom, mammals closer to the top, and of course the birds at the top. Why? Well, they're the last ones to die.
No, the reason that you have reptiles under layers that have mammals is because there was an extremely smooth transition between reptiles and then reptile-like mammals, and then you have mammal-like reptiles, and it gets to be where you start to be unable to tell which one is which, and then you have mammals. Okay, and also you don't only have birds at the very highest layers. There's a smooth transition again from feathered theropod dinosaurs to bird-like theropod dinosaurs to dinosaur-like birds, and then birds. It's very similar. So what you're saying is just completely wrong.
So when Bill Nye says, well, you see how we have evolved over time, folks, I'm sorry, but it's only for the scientifically illiterate that will believe that. The scientifically illiterate crowd, which makes up a lot of the United States, and I'm not trying to be rude to people, I want people to be educated. You know, Jesus is the true light. The Bible says he's the light which lighteth every man that cometh into the world.
So if a majority of the US is scientifically illiterate and a majority of them are also Christian, is there a connection between those two things, Matt Powell?
And we should shine as lights. Jesus told the disciples, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify the Father which is in heaven. So evolutionists have told me and Dr. Hovind that we are incorrect. We have strawmanned them because we have said that they date the fossils by the rocks and the rocks by the fossils. And so I have here from World Book Encyclopedia, it says the age of the rocks may be determined by the fossils found in them, but you determine the age of the fossils by which in the rocks that they lie in. So that's called a circular argument, because they say, well, Matt, you're bringing up all these points. What about our side? Okay, here's your side. The rocks determine the age of the fossils determine the age of the rock.
So it says the age of the rocks may be determined by the fossils found in them. So that's, I assume, talking about index fossils. And then it says scientists determine when fossils were formed by finding out the age of the rocks in which they lie. Yeah, and the way that they do that is by using radiometric dating to find the ages of the rock layers, and radiometric dating gives you absolute dates. So your quote mines here do not show any circularity. Try harder.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's real free thought right there. But this is what we're up against. And debates really don't determine what is true and what is not. I think the best way to determine what is true is speaking the word with authority and, just telling people the truth, plain and simple. So, evolutionists will say, Matt, if you can find a dinosaur and man in the same layer, then we'll believe that the flood of Noah happened and that they were all running around at the same time. Well, here's the thing. We have found those things. I mean, Brother Taylor mentioned earlier about the Paluxy River, right? Paluxy River. I've been there. I went with my dad, and I actually saw the footprints of the dinosaurs in the same layer of strata as with humans. Do you know what that means? That we can deduce scientifically is that they existed at the same time. Another man and dinosaur footprint. You've got the dinosaur
Seriously? This one again? Oh my God.
footprint, but you can also see the man footprint. So the man stepped either onto the dinosaur track or the dinosaur onto the man. Now, this is where we beat evolution the best. I would submit. I don't know how Doc feels about this, but I just came across this evidence the other day. We find fossilized water ripples. And we find in the Grand Canyon ripples of water connecting many layers to other layers because they were laid down by water. Okay, because that's what sedimentary rock even is. But we find these water ripples that are fossilized. Now, fossilization, according to evolutionists, takes at least 10,000 years. You Google it, they'll say it takes 10,000 years for something to fossilize. Folks, who thinks that water and this mud is going to sit there like that for 10,000 years waiting for it to fossilize? Folks, what it means is that it was buried so quick and in such a catastrophic event that it was preserved. That water ripple was literally preserved in geologic.
I mean, to me, this doesn't look particularly well preserved. It looks like there are a lot of cracks in it. I mean, to me, this just looks like mud that dried out in the sun. But a better example would be if you look at floodplains. If you look at grassy floodplains, you can see ripples that are massive compared to this example. So there's giant like ripples that are separated by like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 20 feet, and they go all over the landscape. So that's what we would see all over the earth if there was a global flood. Instead, we only see these ripple patterns in specialized areas like floodplains, and they're a lot bigger than this. So this is not a very good example.
Strata. We also find fossilized raindrops. Did you know you can use a fossilized raindrop to prove that the flood of Noah is a fact and that the geologic column's wrong and that their dating method is wrong? Because these raindrop surface areas, if you have rain outside, it gets the surface area that it makes, it flattens out in just a few hours. So this proves that these had to have been fossilized so fast, they had to have been covered so fast and fossilized that they were able to be preserved. Now, here's the thing. There's nothing that could do that other than Noah's flood. And I find, isn't it amazing? I found that I was watching Dr. Hovind versus Maddie, who's...
Okay, this doesn't make any sense. You're saying that an example of fossilized raindrops was quickly and catastrophically covered by, I guess, mud and sediment, and it got preserved like this? I mean, if anything, fossilized raindrops prove that a global flood did not happen. Because what you're describing are the opposite conditions that would preserve something like this. For something like this to be preserved, you would need it to be undisturbed for a long period of time. So what you're saying makes no sense.
Who's a scientist, PhD. She's a theistic evolutionist. And Dr. Hovind brought up the clams that were found on Everest, the clams, the giant mollusks on Peru. And Maddie responded and said, well, a mudslide would do that. Hello, a mudslide is what we'd expect in the flood. So she just literally admitted, oh, a mudslide did it. Oh, I wonder how that happened.
Okay, so it's like she said, mudslides are something that can happen outside of global floods. And also floods can happen, just normal floods, and they have happened. So how do you know that it's Noah's flood and not just a flood? You know? Ridiculous.
So, but like I said, and this is from Answers in Genesis. I love Answers in Genesis. They have this slide, and I thought I would take it. These surface areas, they have to be, like the animal tracks even. You think about how long a track will last. They had to be buried quick. Again, there's no other way to explain this but by the flood, but by the Bible. More fossilized raindrops. The Bible says that the rain was upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights when this was all happening. An evolutionist will say, stop right there. There's an error in your Bible. We all know that it can't rain for 40 days and 40 nights. Folks, Google reigned for millions of years. The first thing that pops up is that time that it rained for 2 million years. So they think it's crazy. Oh, it's really crazy that it rained for 40 days and 40. Oh, that must take a lot of faith. But yet they think it rained for 2 million years. That's called the fallacy of false equivalence. It's something that Aaron Ra is known for. When he can't defend his position, he will fling his own poo onto the Christians.
Wait, what? Oh my God. So stupid. So stupid, Matt Powell.
He will fling his own problems onto us. Bill Nye does the same thing. That time it rained for 2 million years. They think there's no God. What? So rain's just magically going to create itself for 2 million years? Not only that, what if I just said like a giant rock popped into existence in the middle of this room? Nobody would do that. But they think that the entire universe popped into existence uncaused and by magic. And I want to reiterate, if you're an atheist, you're forced to believe in magic. You may say, oh, I'm not religious. It's either magic or intelligent design. Either God created the world or the world created itself. We're getting close to the end. We're flying.
I'd say that the idea that the world was created through naturalistic processes sounds a lot more likely than a God creating the earth.
And that was pretty easy. I mean, it's easy to demonstrate that the flood is true, that it's a fact of science. It's not just a theory. People say it's a theory. Well, there's things like the Hovind theory. There's models that we use, competing models. You've got Walt Brown. You've got different theories that are out there. But I think that we all agree on these pieces of fossil evidence because they're undeniable. We have a dinosaur track here that stomps through millions of years of time. This may be a little technical, but I want you to think about this. You've got a layer coming, solidifying, a layer coming, solidifying, another layer coming, solidifying.
I don't think that these layers are different geological layers in the geologic column, okay? I don't think that that's what that is, Matt Powell, okay? The layers are a bit thicker than that.
Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Archaeozoic ages, and everything happens really slow. Well, notice with this dinosaur track that stomps through millions of years of geologic strata, notice that the rock, what happens if you step on hard rock hard enough? Breaks. Notice that the rock is bent. So when sedimentary rock, before it was sedimentary rock, it came in, this mud, the dinosaur stepped into the mud and it bent the rock layer. It didn't break it. It bent it, which means that the rock, all those layers were soft simultaneously.
What the hell are you talking about?
Again, a dinosaur track can prove the flood. Pretty much anything can prove the flood. Whenever an evolutionist tells me, Matt, it's checkmate because you brought up the flood of Noah, I think, yeah, it's checkmate for you. It's game over. Yeah, absolutely. Amen. And of course, these are very famous talking points that we use. Polystrata fossils, fossils that connect all of the layers. Pretty much everybody's heard about those, right? I know I have. They're one of my favorite kind of fossils. Now, evolutionists, this is their last stronghold, and that's why I have a red slide with a couple mad scientists right here. This is it. This is their only place that they can go now, because when you bring these things up to them, that they date the fossils by the rocks, rocks by the fossils, they'll stop you in your tracks and they'll say, well, radiometric dating determines how old they are. So if we date the bottom one and the middle one, we'll see that they get younger. Well, here's the thing. In 1980, Mount St. Helens erupted. Worst volcano in history back in the 1980s.
Pretty sure Pompeii is the worst volcano in history.
An igneous rock flowed down the side of the mountain. Now, igneous rock is what you would test with for radiometric dating. That's perfect rock, perfect candidate. So some creationists, as we like to do, went and investigated and took and sent 5 different samples of this fresh rock that was less than 10 years old. And we sent them to 5 different laboratories. Now, these were the Geochron laboratories. These were the best laboratories, the best secularist laboratories that we have for radiometric dating. First sample came back at the Geochron laboratories as 340,000 years old. Now, keep in mind, this is rock that is less than 10 years old. Second sample came back as 350,000 years old, 900,000 years old. One sample came back as 7 million years old. Now, this is the dating method that they're saying is reliable, and we can date the crust of the earth with this method. 2.8 million years old is another one. So here's the thing. No rock of known age has ever been dated accurately.
Why are you saying that the rock samples are less than 10 years old? What, just because it's igneous rock that erupted from a volcano? That lava is molten rock, okay? So it was in the earth and it was old, okay? And it erupted from the earth and then cooled down. It's still old rock. It doesn't become new rock just because it came out of a volcano. And, like, do you have a source for this? Like, anything? No? Okay, well, it's bullshit then.
Ever. So these were all less than 10 years old, this igneous rock, dated at 7 million years old. But no rock of known age has ever been dated accurately. Now, that's a 0% success rate for their best, okay?
Do you have a citation for this claim? This ridiculous claim?
0% for known rock. If I had an illness and I was going to undergo surgery, and I go to a doctor that's had a 0% success rate, he's killed everybody on the table. Oh, I want to trust that. The doctor won't save your life. 0% success for radiometric dating. They say radiometric dating's been proven. It's never been right even one time, not even once.
Well, I'm glad that you know more than all of the expert specialists who actually work in the labs dating these things and who actually went to school learning the chemistry and learning how to date igneous rock, Matt Powell. I guess they're just all wrong. They just literally never dated anything right. Do you want to explain, like, how the radioactive decay is wrong? How the ratio of parent to daughter elements just doesn't work? Or are you just gonna say that it's never been dated accurately? Okay, well, nothing that Matt Powell has ever said has been right. He has a 0% accuracy rating. There. See? If you want to just do the Matt Powell way, just say that your ideological opponent has been wrong 100% of the time and you're done.
They would rather make believe, folks. Now, I want to wrap it up with this. So earlier in Seminar 1, we mentioned the monkeys that sailed from Africa to South America. And if you don't know about this, people say, how do you get people to doubt evolution? I tell them three-word Google search. When monkeys surfed. These are the first things that pop up. When monkeys surfed to South America, BBC. The monkeys that sailed across the Atlantic. Monkeys suddenly appeared in South America about 40 million years ago. Unlikely though it may seem, they probably sailed there from Africa. Now, let me explain why they're saying this, because I asked them, and we've asked them, why are you saying these monkeys surfed to South America?
Did you try reading more than the first two sentences of the article, Matt? Because you could do that.
What is up with that? And their response is, and keep in mind, this is new stuff. This is stuff they just come out with because they can't, it's unexplained. And it's just, what do you do? So they found that monkeys that the apes, not monkeys, but apes that we evolved from were in Africa. And all these creatures were in Africa. And the monkeys were in Africa too. Well, the monkey fossils were found in South America. They're like, well, 34 million years ago, there was no way for them to be able to get there except for by water. So they must have managed to float. Look at this. Prehistoric monkeys traveled 900 miles between continents on rafts. Look, you're finding a fossil of a monkey that died in South America. You know what this fossil evidence proves? You know, they did surf there. There was an event called Noah's Flood that caused these bunch of monkeys that you're finding supposedly millions of years later to be found in South America. Yeah, they're like, well, they were trying to get on a vegetation mat. They were trying to survive. Yeah, they were trying to survive. It's not that they just slowly rode across the ocean with nothing to eat, sharks in the water, and no water to drink.
Yeah, that is what happened because they had no choice. Okay, they weren't riding surfboards, Matt. And if you showed the rest of the article, then it would show that.
They're freshwater animals. They also find that rodents crossed the Atlantic Ocean. Surfing rats.
Yeah.
This is Oxford University. Oxford's Free the Sciences of Moses. It wasn't even really his hidden agenda. They should change this meme that I just found. It was his open agenda. He admitted it in public. My goal.
This is not a meme. Does Matt Powell not know what a meme is? Just because an image has impact text and well, okay. You can have a meme which is just an image with just bottom text that's impact. But this itself is not a meme. What's the joke? Is it like we live in a society?
Goal he wrote to Charles Darwin was to rid the sciences of Moses. Now, wrote to Charles Darwin.
Yeah, he wanted to free the science from Moses.
Was to rid the sciences of Moses. Now, there are so many millions of years of missing strata in the column. 1 billion years missing on the very bottom, 100 million years missing here, 14 million years missing elsewhere. So there's missing time.
How do you figure? Also, I thought the geologic column didn't exist, so what are we looking at?
As well, but if you ask an evolutionist, where's the best place that we can go to figure out our ancestry or figure out how we evolved? They say, well, it's the Grand Canyon. It's, quote, surely the finest geological record anywhere on the earth. So the supposed best record that they have, I believe it's 81% that's missing. Don't quote me on it, but I believe it's 81%. Do your research. And yeah, you know, Sir Arthur Keats said that evolution is unproved and unprovable. We believe it because.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to read a comment from Snake Was Right. How does he think that they got to South America from the Ark landing in Turkey? It's the same problem no matter what. Right, so, you know, he finds this concept so laughable that, you know, an ape or an early human could cross over a large body of water on a piece of debris like a raft or like a floating log. But how did you get kangaroos from Turkey all the way to Australia? And another thing is that we don't know how close the continents were to each other when this originally happened. Because if South America and Africa were a lot closer together than they are now, then it's not as far-fetched as it sounds. Okay, because basically I've read these articles about the surfing monkeys, and all it was describing is just animals getting blown out to sea by a tropical storm, similar to the finches on the Galapagos Islands getting blown to a different island because of monsoon rains. Okay, and the monkeys are not surfing to a different island or a different continent. They're stranded at sea and they're just grabbing onto whatever piece of debris that they can hold onto, and they either die or they eventually just reach sea. I think what the articles are saying are that they found fossils of these monkeys. So the monkeys could have been, like, basically had already been dead when they washed up on the shore. So when they use the phrase surfing, they don't actually mean surfing.
The only alternative is special creation, and that is unthinkable. So when evolutionists say the truth of evolution is so unthinkable for you Christians, well, here's the thing. Sir Arthur Keith said it's unthinkable to accept the Bible. But the Bible says that God commendeth his love toward us, and that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And so, the last thing Jesus even said on the cross was, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. We love atheists. We care for them. That's why we talk about them. And that's why I pray more and more of them will get saved. We'll watch this conference, every single seminar, and we'll conclude that they lived at the same time. I do. The source is in the slides. I can get the slides to you. Yep. Right on. Did you want to close it here?
Yes, sir.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you,
Thanks
brother.
again. Yep.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, brother. That was one slight difference of opinion. I don't think the water went back under the crust. I think it's still in the oceans.
Oh shit, trouble in paradise.
Earth is 70% underwater today. God designed it to be inhabited. Anyway, that was great. I've been trying to talk Matt into moving down here, at least for a few months or a year or two, to help us in the ministry. He said he's got one more bill to pay off. I think if we all raise the money, get 10 grand to get this last bill paid off, we could get him to move down here. How many be in favor of that? Say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. All opposed, say no. Yep, the ayes are of the nose. Okay, thank you so much for coming to boot camp. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, Brother Meister will be speaking. And then 11 o'clock, I'll be speaking. We have all kinds of activities. I think I should run up to the store and get about 8 gallons of ice cream, and at 8 o'clock in the dining hall.
I'm talking to R and Ra on Facebook Messenger. You'll have to excuse me.
How many would be in favor of ice cream? All right. Anybody have anything? Anybody should want to share a testimony of how you like or dislike Dinosaur Adventureland? What we're doing here? Anybody got any comments they want to make? Yes, sir.
I'm very impressed. Absolutely well done. It's a lot of stuff for the kids, but it's not insulting to the adults.
Well, thank you, brother.
Very tastefully done, artistically.
I started this. I was concerned that so many of the creationists are building museums, which in kid language equals boring. You go in, you look at this.
When I was a kid, I didn't think museums were boring.
You look at this, you look at this. Okay, well, that's necessary, but give them something to do. Blow something up, burn something down, jump off the cliff with a rope or something, and
What? Why do you want to put kids in danger so much, Kent? You're weird.
we have lots of activities here that not everybody, but some people. How many have tried the giant swing
Activities.
off the tower, the leap of faith? You tried that, brother?
Oh, we have an activity where we just shove you down a flight of stairs. Over. Okay.
And you got baptized today. Awesome. Amen. It teaches a simple lesson that's powerful.
I baptize people by holding their head underwater in a bathtub. Okay. Over.
You pull this swing up to you. There's giant telephone poles up there, all cabled off. You pull the swing up and you sit on it, standing on the platform, and you look down and you think, I believe this will work. But until you pick your feet up and jump, you haven't changed from believing to trusting.
And then I shoot you.
There's a big difference between believing and trusting. The devil believes in God, but he's never committed. And when you pick your feet up and jump, now you're committed. You got to go. Anybody try the zip lines into the lake? Nobody. Oh, you've done it, right? Yeah, if you go down the zip lines, hold your feet in front of you, and if you can hit the water at just the right angle, it'll give you a wedgie that'll last a week. The record is 10 days. One wedgie. Yep. We were going to put a picture up, but after 3 days, it didn't look very good. So just come on down, try Dinosaur Adventureland. I would like to encourage somebody to start some of these in your state. Start slow, start small,
I'm uncomfortable.
start simple. You could do a traveling creation display. You could travel to schools, get a trailer, get a bus, do something, and go around and go to malls, speak to kids groups, go to parks, go to the beach, go to places where the people are.
Dress up like a clown, you know. Okay.
And teach them about science and the Bible. There's a war going on. The Bible says the scoffers are ignorant of the creation.
There's a war going on, okay? You need to go and shoot a teacher.
Well, go teach about the creation. What was it like? They're ignorant of the flood. Well, go teach about the flood. Somebody needs to do a portable flood demonstration model. You can take to the park. Hey, kid, come here, watch this.
Hey, kid, I'm going to come and flood your house as a demonstration of Noah's flood.
If the kids won't come, hey, kid, I'll give you $5 if you watch this. Okay. Now they'll come, okay? Find something to do for the Lord. There's a war going on. All right, if you want to help Matt get down here, call him up.
Bribe children for the Lord. Open. Okay.
Give him 10 grand and say, get down there, brother. I'll pay the bill if you'll get down there for a year. Yes, sir.
Right after this meeting, I could just make that brief announcement about the progress of the case.
Add cake and ice cream? Add ice cream?
No, right after this, just a few minutes.
Okay, well, I'll be gone to get the ice cream. So if you want Paul to explain what's going on in our case, Paul and I have a case they locked me up for 9 years for no good reason. Paul, did I break any laws?
Yes.
Actually, if Ken would have did what they charged him for doing, that would have been illegal.
Right. Had I done what they charged me with, that would have been illegal. I didn't do it. I will maintain my innocence till I die. So there's a website, KentHovinisInnocent.net. Anyway, so if you want to stay and listen, Paul can explain about what happened in the case.
The case got thrown out. The judge called the case delusional.
What's going on is not over yet. We're going to keep going until we die. I'll come back in about 30 minutes with ice cream. We'll see you in the kitchen in 30 minutes. Thank you. All right.
Maybe I said that kind of weird. They charged him for not withholding. If he would have withheld, it would have been illegal.
Yeah, they charged me for not withholding, and had I done it, I wasn't authorized. I kept asking them every year. I'd write them a letter, guys, what do you want me to do? Never answered. That law. So, Paul, you explain the case. Go ahead and shut off the internet. And
the IRS never answered. The IRS sent agents directly to your house, Kent, and you filed a lawsuit against them for trespassing on your property. You're such a bad liar. You're not authorized to withhold taxes from your employees. In America, if you have a business that is for profit and you have employees, that means that you're qualified and you're responsible for withholding federal income tax. It's called FICA tax, as well as Social Security tax. You have to pay your employees in paychecks. That way, the taxes can be electronically deducted, so there's a paper trail. But instead, you paid everybody that worked at your ministry in cash, and you withdrew the money that you paid them with in structured withdrawals that were just under $10,000 every single time, 45 times in a row, and you intentionally had your wife do the withdrawals every single time. So don't act like you weren't doing something wrong, Kent, because you were guilty and you obviously knew that you were breaking the law. That's why you had your wife make the withdrawals. So I don't know why you're acting like the case hasn't been thrown out. The case is dead, Kent. Give it up. And this stream is also dead. So that's the end of the boot camp stream for today. During the 4th of July weekend, I'm going to be doing another stream tomorrow. I'm not sure what it's going to be about yet, but it's going to be a patriotic stream celebrating America, and I'm going to be grilling hot dogs, probably. for lunch. I don't know, but I'll stream about something so you guys have something to watch. Visit my Twitter. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I'm 25 subscribers away from 400. And turn on notifications, like this video, visit my Patreon at patreon.com/atheistjunior if you want to support the channel. And if you're going to drink tomorrow, be sure to have a designated driver or take an Uber home. And don't set off fireworks inside the city limits. Remember that people have dogs and the dogs get scared. So be mindful of that. But thank you guys for coming to the stream. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.